Pantera is almost back, Machine Head suddenly remembered what metal is, and Bruce Dickinson acts like any other awkward dad at his son's wedding.
It's just outrageous.
Heavy metal is alive and well, so let's take a look at what keeps it going today. Here you go. The newly reformed Pantera, which currently consists of the two original band members, Phil Anselmo and Rax Brown, as well as Black Label Society's Zakk Wylde and Anthrax' Charlie Benante, finally announced the first dates of their reunion tour, which will kick off on December 2nd with a co-headliner concert at Heaven and Hell Festival, then going on to Knotfest Colombia on December 9th, followed by Knotfest Chile on December 11th and Knotfest Brazil on December 18th, on which the band will hit the stage with the legendary Judas Priest and, of course, Slipknot. Which I guess was kinda obvious. And just a couple of hours after the announcement of the first dates, Pantera's social media accounts also shared the tour's teaser, which features the pictures of the footage of the original Pantera lineup and the band's fans alongside the words "For the brothers, for the fans, for legacy." The Yet let's be honest here, we did all expect that Pantera will announce their tour dates sometime very soon, and the wording in the footage which the band has shared in the teaser was kind of expected. And so the most interesting part, at least to me, in all of these announcements was in fact the logo which the band has shared on the teaser and which is used on all of the concert posters, which has absolutely no indications of it being a tribute show or a celebration project of any sort, as the boys have used a traditional Pantera logo which is known to every fan, and I guess it's safe to say in the end of the day the boys decided to operate under the name Pantera, which actually for some reason does not bother me at all. And even more so, instead of making it a tribute project and hitting on the fans' nostalgia, the remaining Pantera members actually decided to make the experience as authentic as possible, as it was also announced later that same evening that Dimebag Darrell's longtime technician Grady Champion will also join the boys on this tour and help Dimebag's longtime friend Zakk Wylde to sound as close to the original Pantera guitarist as it is physically possible. Once again, I actually decided to be as open-minded about this as I possibly can, neither bashing nor praising any of the decisions the boys have made so far. Yet the only thing I'm very curious about at this point is how far will Phil Anselmo and Rax Brown will actually push this, meaning if this tour will be successful, whether they will ever dare to release new music under the name of Pantera. By the way, by now you might be wondering why the heck do I have Judas Priest and Painkiller in the back of this video when this segment was in fact about Pantera. And I guess it could be because Judas Priest were actually the band who took Pantera on their major tour, helping them gain worldwide success, or because of the fact that the famous Dimebag Darrell's necklace was in fact a tribute to one of the greatest heavy metal albums in the history of heavy metal. But in reality it is because of the fact that the next episode on our Defenders of the Faith series, on which we will finally take a look at the isolated guitar parts for one of the greatest guitarists in the history of heavy metal, will be released in just a couple of days. And unless it's your first time on YouTube, I guess you know what to do to not miss it. Groove metal pioneers Machine Head released their new studio album Of Kingdom and Crown. Here I'd like to say one thing. Around 20 years ago, in my teenagehood when I was actively searching for new bands to follow, I tried really hard to get into Machine Head, which was quite popular around that time. And to be honest with you, I miserably failed in that quest. Shame! And a couple of years ago, in a more mature age, I tried my luck with Machine Head once again, yet once again was absolutely unsuccessful. And here I guess it would be fair to point out that in my latest attempt, I actually started with the band's then latest material, which I guess isn't really the best entry point to the Machine Head's discography. And so by the time I started listening to the band's 10th studio album, I was actually as close-minded as a metalhead can be. And let's be honest here, metalheads can be very close-minded.
Yes, that's true.
Yet I was actually pleasantly surprised, as this album is nothing like its predecessor and is actually powerful, vigorous and full of skull-crushing riffs, and what is most importantly, in most of the cases it actually does its job. and gets the point across. Except for when the songs are over 6 minutes long, which I personally always have considered an overstretch for this style of heavy metal. In addition, it does show both aggressive and melancholic sides of the band, and does feel like an emotional roller coaster of some sort, yet without any compromise to its conductivity, as the album is very cohesive from the very beginning till the very end. And so here's the thing, even though this album did not immediately make me a Machine Head fan, it did in fact make me wonder what else did the band produce before, actually making me go through the band's back catalog and discovering some hidden gems in their early material. So if you are a Machine Head fan, I have absolutely zero doubts that you will absolutely love this track. And if you are absolutely new to this band's world, then I guess it would be a much better entry point to the band's back catalog than the past several albums. By the way, I'd like to point out that it is only the third time we're doing this little digest on the channel, and I guess therefore now it would be a great time to comment on any suggestions on how to improve this series and what kind of bands and segments you'd like me to cover in the future videos. So do it! We are at about the equator of our video, and therefore I'm about to give you the most important and the most informative segment for this episode. As you might have heard before, Metallica's James Hetfield is currently going through the divorce, and so I actually was able to get hold of information and the details which have not actually been discussed by any of the niche media we all read every day. But the thing is that this divorce is actually none of our business. Exactly. No, seriously, divorces are hard and painful, and if you do consider yourself a part of a Metallica family, stop sticking your nose into it. Stop requesting more and more information about who was wrong and who was right, or writing those nasty comments under every post about that divorce on social media, trying to take someone's side or pretend that you know more than somebody else. I personally have never understood this longing to know who sleeps with who and how someone's private life is going.
Right, here's an opportunity to be creative.
And let's not forget that we're actually all here for the music. And in reality, none of us know what Papa had or his wife and family has been going through in the past couple of years. So instead of sticking your nose into it and trying to get more information about it, be supportive of Metallica family, and instead just be a nerd and try to find out what made James Hetfield write that or that riff. Nerd. Or if you have too much time to spend on the internet, I actually have a very interesting homework for you. Try to find out when Metallica's 4th studio album, And Justice for All, was actually released. Seriously, this should be a very simple question to answer, but it is not. So after you first go to Wikipedia and then double check it on some other website and find several different dates for the same album, and then spend several hours digging through some old reviews of And Justice for All, return here under this video and comment what you have found. Seriously, it will be much more useful than digging through someone's dirty underwear. After this very informative segment, I'd like to point out that none of this was actually directed to anyone in our community, as I'm 100% sure that all the metal pilgrims mind their own business and are here for the music. So if you are into heavy metal and for some reason you're not subscribed to our channel, you know which button to click, don't you? Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson breaks the laws of nature and does the impossible, proving that one human being can be a vocalist of one of the greatest heavy metal bands of all time, professional fencer, commercial plane pilot, amazing beer brewer, and a world-class dancer. Well, almost. Well, in reality, a couple of weeks ago, Bruce Dickinson and his girlfriend Leona Dolce actually attended the wedding of Bruce's oldest son, 31-year-old Austin Dickinson, on which Bruce Dickinson himself busted the myth of him not being a human being, which I'm actually still not 100% sure about, since come on, how come a human being can be so good at so many things? And yet he did it, by acting like any other awkward dad at a son's wedding. So if you for some weird reason were always wondering how is Bruce Dickinson like a father, The answer is most likely the same as your dad is. Or if you are a father yourself, exactly the same as you are. Since come on, my eldest daughter is only 5 years old and I can already see myself dancing in pretty much exactly the same way at her wedding. In reality, it's just always good to see the human side of your heavy metal heroes and simply be happy that despite being amazing at so many things, they can be normal at some others. And also that at some point in their career, they decided to become singers and not dancers. Oh, and also, on behalf of all the metalheads, let's all just be happy for Austin Dickinson after everything he's been through in the past couple of years, and wish him a lifetime of happiness with his new wife. Here I'd like to point out a fact which, if you are not new to the channel, you know already, and if you are new to the channel, you might have figured out by my accent or this t-shirt that I am actually Ukrainian, and just like pretty much any Ukrainian Iron Maiden fan, I was actually supposed to see Iron Maiden on tour in my hometown Kyiv, Ukraine earlier this summer. Yes, because of the war in my country, I was not able to see Iron Maiden, Judas Priest or any other bands I planned to see this summer. And so here I just wanted to remind you that the biggest war since World War II is still going on right in the middle of Europe in the 21st century. And none of this is actually normal, so please continue supporting Ukraine in any way you possibly can. Ozzy Osbourne gives a valuable lesson to any kid who still thinks that drugs and sex should be used in the same sentence as rock and roll.
Hello there.
How are you?
Fine.
In his recent interview this week, Ozzy Osbourne remembers why he stopped using acid. Recalling an episode in the late 70s when he was so tripped on acid that he actually went on wandering in the woods and spent an hour talking to a horse. In the late 1970s in America, people were very fond of lacing your drinks with acid. I didn't care. I used to swallow a handful of tabs at a time. The end of it came when I got back to England. I took 10 tabs of acid, then went for a walk in a field. I ended up standing there talking to this horse for about an hour. In the end, the horse turned around and told me to off. That was it for me. And while this of course can be a fun story to tell at a party, I think it is fair to assume that Ozzy Osbourne in fact has a very addictive personality. And his struggle to battle his addictions can be set in as an example to pretty much anyone around the world.
You know, we took LSD, we took cocaine, we took vast amounts of marijuana. It was fun at the time, but then we all just sort of it's not a very good idea anymore.
So you have a more stable life now?
No.
And yet still, by the time when he's 73, he's still able to release a new album, which by the way will come out in just a couple of weeks. And just a reminder, I'd like to give away a signed copy of a CD by Ozzy Osbourne, of course, not me. So make sure to not miss the full-length review of the album around the release date. And speaking about the album, as the Ozzy Osbourne goes on promoting his upcoming record Patient Number 9, he and his management of course are trying to stir up as much controversy about it as they possibly can. And after releasing a track about masturbation with Tony Iommi, not really masturbation with Tony Iommi, about masturbation, and the track is with Tony Iommi. This week, Ozzy Osbourne has shared a story about how Eric Clapton, who by the way also appears on this record, suggested Ozzy change the line on the song he appears on which Ozzy Osbourne apparently says, "On one of those days I don't believe in Jesus." Yet after trying around a couple of different phrases, Ozzy Osbourne refused to change that line, which according to him will stir a lot of controversy. Which, to be honest with you, I as a Christian don't think is actually true. Since maybe for comparison, Ozzy Osbourne could go back to some of his back catalog and compare these lyrics to some of his older material. But anyways, what do you guys personally think about this week's releases, and which is your personal favorite track or album which has come out this week? Is it one of those songs on the Machine Head album, or possibly a new Grave Digger record, which I personally thought was very enjoyable? Hell is my purgatory, I'm a sinner around the priest. And also, please don't forget to write any suggestions for our upcoming Metal Digest, which sections you'd like us to have and what you would like me to talk about in any future videos. Please let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and we will prevail. Slava Ukraini!